Welcome back to the channel, my friends. I am Kevin, and you are on Reading the Room. We cover Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, probably Warhammer 40k, and maybe the Marvel Universe if I have time. But as the title suggests, we are here to talk about the history of House Tully. House Tully, if you guys don't know, shocker, I know, among the noble houses of Westeros. Gasp. But few are as tied to the land that they rule as House Tully is. Their words, family, duty, honor, speak to their values, but also their struggles. From their ancient origins on the Trident to their central role of basically every war happens in their territory because they are smack dab in the middle of everything. So they are loyal and they lose a lot of things, a lot of lives. If you go to the Battle of the Five Kings, which I'll talk about, they get turned in basically a toxic wasteland, Mandalore style. And yeah, that's where we're going to start with House Tully. When Aegon the Conqueror invaded Westeros, the Riverlands were actually ruled by House Hoare of Harrenhal, but when Harrenhal defied Aegon, the Tullys were the first to rise in rebellion. They declared for Aegon, throwing their strength behind his dragons, and in return, Aegon rewarded them handsomely. The Tullys were named Lord Paramount of the Trident, ruling the Riverlands in the name of the Iron Throne. We all kind of know what happened to House Hoare and with Harrenhal, so the Tullys made a great choice, and this moment was marked with the ascension of House Tully from respected riverlords to one of the greatest houses in Westeros. The Tullys are defined by their words, family, duty, honor. They are known as loyal allies, often marrying into other great houses, and you see this where we are currently in the books. Ned clearly married Catelyn Tully, so there's that. Through the centuries, Tully daughters and sons were tied to the Starks, the Arryns, and even the Baratheons, and unlike some great houses, they never sought conquest. Instead, they maintained their position through bonds of kinship and reputation for honor, though sometimes that honor placed them in absolutely impossible situations. In A Song of Ice and Fire, House Tully is central to the war that breaks out in Westeros. Lord Hoster Tully was not in the best of health when the War of the Five Kings began. His daughter, Catelyn Tully, married Ned Stark decades earlier, which tied the Riverlands to the north, and his other daughter, Lysa Tully, wed Jon Arryn, cementing the ties in the Vale. So when Ned was actually executed in King's Landing and Robb Stark was declared King of the North, Riverrun became his southernmost stronghold, and Robb's uncle Edmure Tully fought bravely but wasn't exactly the greatest or most competent commander, and his uncle, the famed Sir Brendan the Blackfish Tully, became one of Robb's most trusted advisors. But loyalty to family came at a terrible cost. The Tullys were, like I said, central to being victims in this story, and were one of the central victims in the Red Wedding. When Robb Stark and Catelyn Tully were slain, the Riverlands fell to the Freys and the Lannisters. Riverrun was besieged, and Edmure Tully was forced to surrender his ancestral home to House Frey, and the Blackfish escaped, continuing to resist, and by the end of the book so far, the Tullys have lost Riverrun, and the Freys are ruling it, and they are hated by nearly every vassal in the Riverlands because the Freys suck. House Tully's fate, as of the latest thing we've heard from the books, House Tully is broken, its power is shattered. Edmure remains alive, but is captive. The Blackfish continues his resistance, but the thing about being a resistance fighter, fighting a guerrilla war, you're hunted by everyone. The memory of Catelyn Tully lingers on, but she actually walks Westeros again, born as the vengeful Lady Stoneheart, leading to the Brotherhood Without Banners. Though House Tully basically has nothing at the moment, the Starks and the Arryns are still in Westeros, and they still have family ties there. So with that being from the beginning to what we have currently, that is House Tully. They were never, I don't think they were ever as ambitious as they were when Aegon conquered, and let's be honest, they were probably only that ambitious because they would prefer not to be burned to death by dragons. They didn't forge any, empires, didn't try to conquer their neighbors. Instead, they were there as, again, loyal bannermen, allies, and that allies and loyalty kind of brought them tragedy in the end, but from their first men roots to their rise under Aegon and now their fall under the Freys, House Tully reflects the Riverlands themselves. Fertile, contested, and enduring, even after ruin, and perhaps the war is still to come. The fish of Riverrun may yet swim again. Thanks for watching this, guys. I kind of came up with this on the spot. I know I did the Lannisters a few days ago or a few weeks ago. I figured I would just keep it rolling. I've done a bunch of shorts of the North, and then I went to the Vale, so if I'm knocking out every house in each kingdom, I might as well knock out the greatest houses in those kingdoms and videos. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, do all that YouTube crap. Have a good rest of your day, guys. Peace.